on to cricket, Rob, I'm going to get your thoughts on Saturday. Australia obviously had a bittersweet day winning the Rugby Championship, but then getting smashed in the Ashes. Were you surprised by that result? I mean, they've still got one test to go, and what does that mean, I guess, for South Africa when the Proteas play England at the end of the year?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a sort of, everything was a bit sort of higgledy-piggledy really from an Australian point of view. Normally, with due respect to the Wallabies, you might have expected them to take the defeat to the All Blacks, who've generally had their measure in the last few years, and the cricketers to be, downing the dastardly Poms on their own backyard, but that didn't happen. It's happened pretty much in reverse. The particular shock in Australian sports circles will certainly be the fact that the Ashes have been surrendered with a test to spare. That in itself is quite an indictment, quite an embarrassment. I see that there's
and I know that will really hurt them.
Absolutely, absolutely. Especially considering that a lot of neutrals, and I've got to admit, myself included, had installed Australia as favourites. I thought that they would, not necessarily the old 5-0, the old Glenn McGrath as they called it, but I did think that they would be too good for England. And the way England have actually reinvented themselves has been quite staggering, and now sets the tone for a very, very epic summer on South African turf, where we have 4 tests against England. Which a lot of our purists will be very thankful for, because we haven't had a home 4-test series for a long time. It'll feel like a really proper, in-depth sort of series, and so it's world number 1 against Ashes holders. Whatever happens to England in the meantime, and I think they go to the United Arab Emirates, which is a potential sort of banana peel series against Pakistan before they come to South Africa. Pakistan and the UAE are quite a formidable obstacle, so it's just possible that there might be a little correction there, but they will nevertheless arrive as Ashes holders, and that brings a lot of glamour, and it'll bring even more English supporters to the Southern Hemisphere for a bit of sort of warmth during the middle of their winter. Yeah. So we're set for a really cracking series. Although before that, of course, the Proteas have other engagements like New Zealand arriving very shortly. Funnily enough, we've got them in a very short T20 and ODI series. The T20 actually has a lot more relevance than the ODIs. The ODIs come, very soon after the last World Cup, and with 3 years and more to the next one. So there's relatively little sort of gravitas to that series right now. Actually, it's going to be quite experimental. The New Zealanders are bringing a sort of a slightly weakened squad anyway, and I suspect South Africa will do the usual bit of rotation. But in the T20s, which are at the outset of the mini-series, those are the games that we actually need to take a little bit more sort of cognizance of, I suppose, because there's a World T20 looming at the end of the summer. So yet again, a chance for South Africa to finally get the old ICC trophy monkey off the back. They will, make no mistake, be trying hard, as ever, to finally break that hoodoo. So the T20 format takes on sort of special relevance. So in fact, the early part of the series is going to be what really is the sort of the hallmark of this visit. It's a peculiar trip because, of course, they don't come down to the Cape because we're still in the grips of winter, and everything happens up north. It's going to be interesting to see what the conditions are like. August is still quite a peculiar time to be playing home games against any sort of decent sort of opposition. So interesting to see how the pitches hold up. I suspect they'll be pretty slow because the sun hasn't really the Highveld sun hasn't really sort of baked down properly on them yet to make them sort of harder and firmer and have good carry. Difficult to say what will happen, but as I say, the T20s actually, for once, the hit and giggle will be more important than the ODIs.
Good, gents. Thank you.